Please join me in welcoming author Jean Burke, a homeschooling mother and creator of the revolutionary and award-winning College Prep Genius, a curriculum which has helped thousands of high school students prepare for the SAT and PSAT. As a homeschooling mom, Jean did not have the financial resources to send her children to college. When she discovered that the SAT and PSAT were the keys to getting huge scholarships, she began to research the tests to understand how to prepare her children. She discovered that these tests could be taught. They weren't IQ tests, but rather critical thinking exams. After both her children received full-ride scholarships, Jean began teaching these secrets to other homeschool, public, private, and charter school students. Her program, College Prep Genius, is the culmination of more than a decade of research, classroom experience, and SAT expertise. After Jean's webinar, we will have a question and answer session. Please feel free to add any questions you may have in the chat box at any time, and we will get to as many as possible. And with that, I will let Jean take it away.
Thanks, Kaylin. I appreciate it. Well, hello, everyone. I am coming from Texas. It's only about 80 degrees here today. It is awesome for a February. Want everybody plug in where you're coming from. What state? What's your degrees? What's it like outside? I know there's a lot of cold going up north and northeastern, and just let me know how you're staying warm today as we get started. I'm really excited about this seminar. I was just talking to someone on the phone today earlier, interestingly, about the tests and how there are some people who get it and there are going to be some people who don't get it. And if you do get it, it can literally be life-changing. And so I'm excited about sharing some things that I've learned over the years, not just, with getting the scholarship money with our children, but helping, tens of thousands of people who've gone through our program and seeing lives changed. So this is the top 10 homeschooling secrets to ace the SAT, ACT, PSAT, and really standardized tests in general, as you're going to see. So let's see here. We've got, see if I can click on the chat box here so I can get a bit of idea where y'all are coming from. Oh, hey, Letty, how are you? Okay, Tennessee, thank you for popping in. Okay, Texas, don't you love it here in Texas this time of year? It's great. Montana, Detroit, oh my goodness, gotta be cold up there. Indiana, Illinois, Ohio. So thank you for joining, and I'm excited that that y'all have chimed in today. Orlando, yes, I was actually in Jacksonville just a couple days ago, so I love Florida. So today we're gonna be talking about the top 10 homeschooling secrets on acing standardized tests. Once you get free college, people want to know what you do and how you did it. These are just some of the TV stations I've been on. As a Fox News contributor, I've been blessed to be on a lot of radio shows, and so these are just some of them. So you're going to find that I talk really fast. I really am from Texas, but I love giving you lots of information. You might feel like you're drinking from a fire hose. So don't worry. I've got all the notes that we're going to be talking about today. So I'll give you a link in the end on how to get the notes. It'll also include you in some drawings that we have, as well as getting some more free tips on getting free college. So I want to start off kind of giving you a definition, because these test names are thrown around. It's a good idea to kind of know what they are and what their purposes are. The SAT is created by the College Board. It's the test that you use to get into college, as well as get some scholarship money. The PSAT/NMSQT is also made by the College Board, and it is a scholarship contest that counts in the junior year. And then you have your ACT, or the American College Test, which is also a test for college entrance as well as scholarship money. If you've never heard me speak before, I'll give you kind of a quick background on where I'm coming from, so you kind of know how I kind of find out some of these things. About 16 years ago, my son Josh was in 9th grade, and we literally had no money for college. I mean, probably like many of you, homeschooling family, we were one income, and just no money, zero, period. Nothing saved up for college. And my friend one day mentioned to me that you can get scholarship money, even free college, on a test like an SAT or PSAT, which intrigued me. And I thought, wow, really? I didn't know anything about the test, but what I set out to do was figure it out. And certainly we couldn't, afford one of those expensive programs. So we just had to kind of do it on our own. And my son and I went through lots of practice questions. We bought books at the store. We took some classes, really very helter-skelter. But short story long, he became a National Merit Scholar. And we literally threw away 7 trash bags full of college offers. And what those were, for about a year, my mailbox was stuffed full of letters and brochures and information from colleges all across this nation, offering him full ride, free tuition, free room and board, grad school money, just unbelievable perks that were coming my way and coming his way. And then once my daughter got her scholarships, my friends wanted to know, hey, what did y'all do to get free college? And that's when I wrote a book about 14 years ago, started teaching a class, and now we've been blessed to teach all over this nation as well as other countries. So today, hopefully I can help you guys learn how to get free college. So let's first talk about the number one secret, and that is that standardized tests are not about IQ. They're not about how smart your child is or, what curriculum you're using. These are logic tests. And the questions are purposely misleading, and the wrong answers can be very appealing. And so this is why you've got even really smart kids, even valedictorians, bombing the test. Because colleges know that a 4.0 at one high school is not the same at another. Every school weighs and calculates their scores differently. So the only fair way that a college can compare every student, whether you are homeschooled or public or private, is a test like an SAT, because it levels the playing field. And since y'all are homeschoolers, be thankful, because the colleges could literally look at your transcript and say, well, how do I know y'all didn't make that stuff up? And they don't know. And so this is important, that our kids get to be compared evenly with everyone else. And, if you were to go to the respective websites of the College Board, who makes the SAT, and the American College Test, who makes the ACT, you'll find these words I have right here: ACT measuring what you learn in school, SAT what you learn in high school. Don't believe that. Don't believe that at all. Because if that were true, that would be unfair to students across America, because kids are educated differently and they all learn something different. But they test your thinking skills, which is fair for everybody. Now, one of the biggest complaints that I've heard in teaching this program to tens of thousands of students is that they can't finish the test on time. It's actually designed to where you cannot finish it on time if you do it the normal way. I mean, if your student approaches an SAT like a regular test at school, they're going to read the questions, they're going to read all the answers, they're going to read all the passages, they're going to work everything out the long way. The problem is you've only got around a minute per question. So there's no way, logistically, can you finish on time by doing it the normal way. But to my dear friends out there, I have good news. Every question can be answered in 30 seconds or less. So when the test makers are creating the test, what they'll do is they'll make a question where there's a normal long way to work it out that might take you 2 or 3 minutes, and then there's a very fast way. And so that's what, that I'm going to show you some things today on how to do that. But it is a beatable test. It's learnable, and anybody can learn to do very well. I've had students who were valedictorians that have bombed the test and been able to raise their score as much as 600 points. I've had students who had very special needs, such as autism or dyslexia or ADHD or something, where they were handicapped by the teachers telling them that they're never going to go to college. And I've seen them even become National Merit Scholars. So this test is beatable. So no matter where your students are, whether they're in one of the areas I talked about or somewhere in the middle, just know that their kids can do well. And I say that, because it's not instant. I mean, there's no instant success. You don't learn the piano today, a couple chords today, and then next week you're playing Beethoven. Or you're not learning a couple moves in football, and then the next week you're in a championship. You can learn to beat this test, and it may take time, but it could pay off to hundreds of thousands of dollars of scholarship money. So it's definitely worth it, but you can't shortcut the shortcut. And you'll notice right here, this is why most students have a really difficult time on this test, because of what's on the far right in red. That's how much time you get per question. So you can see 52 seconds and 36 seconds and 47 seconds. Very, very short amount of time to be able to work out these problems if you're doing them the normal way. Little secret number 2 is about the SAT versus the ACT. Most people don't know the truth. They've heard wrong information from well-meaning friends or counselors or other parents. But I always tell people the truth. First of all, every single college takes either one. 100% of colleges accept SAT or ACT. They do not care which one it is. And they're about 99% the same test. So what you learn for one will actually work on the other. There's a crossover of information. I've had students go through my program and get as much as 33, 34, 35s, even a 36 on the ACT by using an SAT program. Now, to find out, maybe your child might do a little better on one or the other, both their websites have free tests that you can go on and have your child take it, on different days, because they are pretty long, about 3 hours. But have them try them both and see which one they might be a little bit more comfortable with, just because of the formatting. Now, there is no science on the SAT, only the ACT. But I've got great news for you. You don't even have to know one iota of scientific knowledge to ace the science section. It's just like the reading section on the SAT. Now, one of the great things about having your child take both or try both is because of money. And there's a conversion chart. Here's a link right here, but you can also just Google it online at ACT versus SAT as far as the scoring change. But if the college prefers one over the other, what they'll do is they'll convert the score. So if you've got a 1340 on, let's say, your SAT, that's the same as a 29 on the ACT, or vice versa. Sometimes just one more point on your ACT will get you another $20,000. I've met people who, just a couple weeks ago, I was in Corona. I was in Corona, and then I was in San Marcos, California. And the director there, Carol, said that her daughter, they took her high math score on her SAT and their high reading score on the ACT and gave her a full ride. So there's nothing wrong with trying both tests. Both tests are offered 13 times nationally, actually now 14, because the ACT went to 7 times a year. So here's the misconception about the SAT and ACT. Who really wrote the redesigned SAT? Well, back in 2012, when David Coleman took over for the College Board, it was the first time in history that more students took the ACT than the SAT. It wasn't a whole lot more. It was like 1.4 million to 1.3 million. But it was enough to make David Coleman, being a very smart businessman, say, you know what, I don't want to lose a piece of the pie. So what he did was he hired ACT writers to rewrite the new SAT. So this is why you're going to see very similar formatting on the test, and very similar strategies and techniques that there is that crossover. So again, it doesn't matter which one your child takes. And now you'll see right here kind of the minor differences between the two tests. They both reading pretty similar, except the SAT only has 4 answer choices now. The English test basically the same thing. The math pretty much the same thing. Like I said, there's no science on the SAT, only ACT. And the essay probably, in my opinion, is the biggest difference as far as formatting. On the SAT, you have an analytical response to a given article, and the ACT, you have to give a persuasive response to a question. Now they're both offered 7 times a year, and the SAT you can take unlimited amounts of time. So let me give you an actual science question so you can see what I'm talking about when it comes to science on the ACT. This one here, the question says, which of the following best describes how the two scientists explain how craters are removed from Europa's surface? Well, this up here is an excerpt from Scientist 1, and this is an excerpt from Scientist 2. And you'll notice down here the answers, there's a combination for Scientist 1 and a combination for Scientist 2 having to do with sublimation, water, and wind. So if we go up here to Scientist 1, notice it says that the liquid water oozed up into the crater. All right, so if we go down here to our answers, you'll notice that there's only one answer that has anything to do with water. Well, we could literally stop right now because we have the answer. But let's confirm it. Notice in Scientist 2 passage, it says that the craters continually sublimes. So if we go down here, Scientist 2, and you'll notice that the correct answer, of course, is answer B. Now, and the great thing is you didn't have to know any science. If your child has not taken biology or anatomy or life science or, physics or anything, you can still answer this question. Now, the great thing about the SAT, it's taken it many, many times. There's a myth from a lot of the counselors about how you can't take it more than a couple of times, 2 or 3 times. Otherwise, the colleges will think you're dumb. Not true at all. As a matter of fact, the average student takes it anywhere between 1 to 3 times, which can be to their detriment because most colleges will superscore, which means they will take the highest scores from different tests. So if your child, let's say, took an SAT one time and got a really high math score, and then the next time they took it, they got a really high reading score, then the colleges will cherry pick those, pull them together for a composite score or a super score, which of course can mean more money. And the great thing about score choice is that you never have to send any of your scores in until you're ready to send them in. Most colleges don't want to see all of them, and even if they did, they would take the highest anyways. But this takes a lot of pressure off students by having them take it many times. I am such a big believer in starting early. I cannot emphasize that enough when it comes to test prep. You cannot get time back. And some kids will do well naturally. They're kind of a good test taker. They're logically minded. It's kind of intuitive to them. And then there's other students who are more the rule followers, and they're the ones who have to dot every I and cross every T. And it takes more time for them to retrain their brain to think logically, not have to read every word in the passage or work out all the problems a long way. So that is why it's so important to start early. 6th, 7th graders come to our class all the time. But no, I'm not saying if you've got like a junior or a senior that they can't do well. They absolutely can. I've had seniors go up 300 plus points in a week, but that's not necessarily the norm. So we don't want our pressure on our kids. And the beauty is these are beatable tests, but do start early. When I speak at conferences, very often the people come up to my booth, and I'll have one type of person who'll say, "Hey, I'm really glad I heard you speak last conference 2 or 3 conferences ago. This was not on my radar. I wasn't even thinking about test prep, but now here we are 3 years later, and our kids have full rides to college." Or the other people who come up to me and say, "I wish I would have heard you 3 years ago, because we are at the last of the last moment. We're scrambling, we're stressing out, we've done nothing to prepare." So as a homeschooling mom, as someone who has been doing this for 14 years and who has met tens of thousands of people who not only lives have changed, but also the ones who are very stressed about the whole idea of college, start early. It can be literally life-changing for you. All right, secret number 3, that the PSAT is not a practice test. The P does not stand for practice. It stands for preliminary. And the full name is PSAT/NMSQT, National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. So this is the one that in your student's junior year could literally open up unbelievable full rides, unbelievable perks and benefits from colleges all across this nation. It is a bragging right for these colleges to have these National Merit Scholars, and so they're willing to just roll out that red carpet and just give you all kinds of amazing benefits just for coming to their school. And for those of you just kind of chimed in, I will send you these notes at the end. I'll give you a link, so don't worry so much about if you've missed anything or trying to write everything down. Now, for the younger students, your 8th and 9th graders can take the PSAT 8-9. Doesn't count. The PSAT 10 doesn't count. But the junior year, that's where all the big scholarship money is. Now, you can go to this website here, collegeprepgenius.com/PSAT scores. You can kind of get an idea of the percentile, whatever score your child gets, what percentile it kind of puts them in. The most you can get on the PSAT is 1520, as opposed to the SAT where you get 1600. Now, if your child scores somewhere in the 99 percentile, depending on your state that you live in, that's where you start getting all these offers. One of the great things about taking the test in October is that you can actually get the test booklet back in November, which gives you the opportunity to go over your child's weaknesses and figure out what they're doing wrong. You know, it takes about 20 focused hours to learn the basics of most new skills. Then once you've learned the basics, then you need time to practice and self-correct. And so once you find out what type of questions you keep getting wrong, this will help you to work on those and raise your scores. Now, the sad thing about a lot of the states, especially some of the middle states or the flyover states, is that they really only promote the ACT. The high schools there just put a big emphasis on the ACT, which is unfortunate for your student, because when they don't promote the SAT, even though every college takes either one, then they neglect the PSAT, which is where the big money is. And so if you're in one of the states that have a lower score, and the way you can find out is to go to collegeprepgenius.com/predicted PSAT scores. And again, I'll have this link in your notes when you send for them. You can click on and find out your state. So PSAT is such an important test, and it's a shame that it's a disservice to your kids when the schools don't promote the SAT and the PSAT. But the great news about starting your kids early is that you're pretty much, when you're preparing for one, you're over preparing for the other one. Now, secret number 4 is beware of test prep companies. They have some dirty little secrets that are unethical. I don't play these games, and I want to let you know so you are aware of it, because a lot of people know that it takes a different skill set to learn how to take an SAT, ACT, PSAT. It's not like what you do at school. But so people capitalize on this, and they charge lots of money. Some of them I've seen $5,000, $10,000, as much as $25,000. It's really crazy. But here's one of the little secrets that you need to be aware of. So if you're checking into a test prep company, number 1, watch out for the diagnostic tests that they give you. Many of these companies, what they'll do is they'll give your student a very difficult, very hard diagnostic test that they made up. It's not a real test question from the College Board, and it's very hard on purpose. And so it gives your child a very awful, very, very low, terrible score. And then they may talk you into their expensive program or their books or whatever they sell. And then at the end, they'll give you another test, your child, another test that's very easy, that they made up. And so it might reflect that your child went up 200 or 300 points, but this is very deceptive. These are not real results. The only way that you will know as a parent, and your child will know that you've improved with any program, regardless of what name brand they are or not, is to take an actual College Board test before you do the program and take the exact same one after. That's what we do with our kids, whether you're doing one of our live boot camps or whether you are, getting the program like through the Homeschool Buyers Co-op, which is awesome. In lesson 1, it tells you take the baseline score from the College Board website. And then once you go through the program and do the homework and all the reinforcing information, then you retake the same one again. So we do get the ones that track it and that get back with us do go up about an average of about 250 the first time through. Some have gone up as much as 600. But what it does, it really gives them confidence and motivation to go back through the program again, because you get a whole year subscription on the program, unlimited use, and go back through it and hear it again and again, maybe go up another 100, maybe go up another 100. So it really makes a difference. So be very careful. All right, dirty little secret number 2 by a lot of these companies, they know that there's many companies out there, and so it's very, very competitive. And so testimonials are crucial to their marketing plan. And so what a lot of companies will do is, especially some of the very expensive ones, is they will buy the PSAT scores of a certain zip code. So it's a few $100s, and you can get these zip codes, certain zip codes, and you get the PSAT scores of the sophomores. And what these companies will do is they will find the students who scored high naturally and give them free classes to their program. And then, of course, in the next year, when they're a junior and their PSAT goes up, or they become a National Merit Scholar, they take the credit for it as if that it was their program that helped the kids. You know what I say about that is, if you are confident in your program, why wouldn't you find the kids with the lowest scores and give them free classes, instead of trying to have these false results to where people think all these National Merit Scholars came from your program? Very inflated. So again, be very, very careful. And then dirty secret little number 3, a lot of programs will go to these schools and they will offer the schools kickbacks for only offering their program. So there's some schools in my area. We are in public and private schools, but there are some that won't allow us in because we're so inexpensive, and because they get kickbacks in these programs that cost thousands of dollars, which they use for their sports programs or their PTAs or whatever. So there's this sort of this under the table money. And so what they do is they keep out programs like myself that just want to help the kids, and we've got great results, but yet it doesn't help their pocketbook. So again, be very careful. And keep in mind, the College Board did partner with Khan Academy. That came about because a lot of people were complaining and saying, only the rich kids are the ones who get the high scores because they're the only ones who can afford very expensive test prep. Well, what they did in retaliation is they partnered with Khan Academy, which, by the way, Khan Academy is a great resource for subject matter. If your child needs to brush up on some geometry, algebra, or so, great. Khan Academy, use it. But Khan Academy had already been teaching test prep for many, many years, free test prep, before the College Board partnered with them. So it's not like the College Board are just these great heroes and they really care. That's not it at all. As the unfortunate thing about the Khan Academy test prep is that it's not going to teach your child how to answer every question in 30 seconds or less. They are going to work out every problem the long way. And so your children will just get frustrated because it's not going to help them on a very timed test like the SAT. They're not going to teach you shortcuts or strategies or techniques, just content. And of course, keeping up with the Joneses, when the College Board partnered with Khan, the ACT partnered with Kaplan, and to offer some low-cost test prep, which again, it's not necessarily, I think it's around a couple $100, but again, the low cost, they try to get you to buy their more expensive program. So they'll have it's rife with a lot of ads for their expensive program. And they offer it to 8th through 11th graders. But the irony about this is they'll say, now to really learn how to raise your score, go on social media and talk to other kids, or go to your counselors and see what they say. Well, if counselors had the time to do that, then nobody would need these programs anyways, but they already have their own agenda and their own plate that's already full. So that doesn't make any sense. All right. Another little secret of how bad advice can cost you $100,000. The median debt for college is $100,000. So, and a lot of the kids are taking about 20 years to pay off college loans. The problem is these graduates are getting out of school and they're not able to buy a house or travel the world or start a business because they're in such debt. And so we want our kids to have a clean slate, and we know that the SATs and PSATs and ACTs are the golden ticket to free college. But sometimes some of the things I've heard over the years is people will say, of course, that PSAT is not important, just a practice test. And this might come from your friends, well-meaning parents or counselors. I always tell families, unless these people are willing to pay for your child's college, if they are wrong, then don't listen to them. Bad advice can cost you money. I've seen it happen time and time again, and I get to hear the sad stories of families who were given the wrong information. So don't listen to them. Sometimes I'll say, wait till the very end of the junior year, because then you'll have all the math you need. Well, again, that would be true if it were a content test. But I've got 7th graders who score higher than seniors. They haven't even been to high school yet. Or they'll say, it's too early. Why am I thinking about that now? Well, because we don't want our kids strapped with debt. There is no instant success. You need time to work on how to beat this test. I heard a lady once say that homeschoolers no longer need the SAT. Well, boy, she changed a whole lot of people's minds. And there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be upset when they apply for college and find out that that is not only not true, that's actually discrimination. I've also had people say, hey, the SATs are going away. They are not going away. 85% of colleges admit and give money just simply based on your test score. And so they're not going to go away. And if they did, they would still need some fair way to compare all students, because your child might take really, really hard classes at home or, through a co-op or some outside classes and have a certain GPA. And then the guy down the street goes to a very easy school. The guy barely shows up for class and has got favor with some teacher, and he gets the same GPA as your child. It's not fair. The colleges don't know that. So they have to have some kind of yardstick to level the playing field. Timing is a killer of opportunities. Well, people say, well, I'll have more time when my kids get older. Actually, there's a really good chance you'll have less time. Your child, as they get older and get into high school and getting later in high school, they have more school, more homework. Sometimes they have a part-time job or they play sports. They certainly have friends, clubs, church, volunteering. I mean, there's so many more things they're doing. And when you try to add test prep on as one more thing on their plate, something's going to give. And more than likely, it's probably going to be the test prep. And so, because they're so involved already that they certainly want to maintain what they've been doing. So this is why I'm such a big believer in starting early. All right, so let's talk about this test and how it's beatable. And, I certainly we teach tons of strategies and shortcuts, but I want to touch on a few so you can get an idea of how this test can be beat, especially the math. I mean, probably about half of all students of the classes I ever teach, hate math. But the good news is you don't have to be a math genius to ace the math section. As a matter of fact, a lot of my students over the years have said to me, Mrs. Burke, I love math and it's my number one subject in school, but it's always my lowest math SAT score. And that is because they are so used to working out everything the long way, showing all their work. And of course, you're going to run out of time because you've got a little over a minute per question. But it's not even a math test. It's really just a logic test using math as the medium. And every problem on the test can be answered, every math question can be answered in 30 seconds or less without a calculator. So what we do is we teach you how to see the math and not do the math. So let me give you a couple examples. What is the product of these two numbers? Well, just simply look at the last two digits, 2 and 3. 2 times 3 is 6, and your answer will end in 6. And if you look at the answers, notice there is only one answer that ends in 6. So this is a cool logic question, logic pattern that can be used not just on multiplying, addition, subtracting, factors, properties. Just train your brain to look at the last digits. In the figure below, a square is inscribed in a circle with diameter S. What is the sum of the areas of shaded regions in terms of S? Now, most students will look at this type of problem and automatically start thinking geometry formulas, length times height, pi r squared, all of that. And again, that could take you 2 or 3 minutes or so to do that. Or if you understand that the SATs and PSATs and ACTs are all tests of patterns, so you can't study for the test, but you study the test itself and you study the recurring patterns. Notice they all have an S square, they all have a minus sign, 2 have 1/2, and 2 have pi over 4. So notice the answer that contains everything. That is the correct answer. And that is because when the College Board writes this test and they come up with the right answer, to create wrong answer choices to trick the students, they'll take variables of the right answer to make the wrong answers. So it only makes logical sense that the right answer contains the most of all the other answer choices. And those are just a couple strategies that we teach. We teach there's a lot of patterns on the test. Now let's talk about reading. Now the reading section, believe it or not, is not about reading. Your students will get 6 passages, 52 questions, and 65 minutes to do it in. So they've got little over a minute per question, plus 6 passages, plus transcribing their answers. So it can't be about reading, or not even about speed reading. But there are 3 types of passages and 5 types of questions. Now the thing about the question types are they're all different, and they're all answered differently. And the questions are purposely out of order. So if a student approaches the reading section like English class to try to analyze and interpret the passage and answer the questions, they are not going to do very well. But the good news is, as much as 75% of the passage can be skipped and still get every answer right. So what students will learn is not just to read the question and look for the right answer. What they'll do is they'll learn the tricks, and they'll read the question and they'll eliminate the wrong answers first. So how many of you out there, and you can just kind of put this in your chat box, how many of you or your children second guess themselves or overthink the question? Just put in a, hey, that's me for sure, because this is how the test is designed. It's actually designed for you to do that. And this is why most students don't do well, because they're putting in their own opinion, and they're reading the question and they're picking the answer and then changing their mind because the other one looks good. But let me show you the 4 tricks that the College Board uses to make your students second guess themselves or overthink the question. And it falls under my acronym COAT, C-O-A-T. So they may give your child a question, and one of the answers might be just completely irrelevant to the question. Really has nothing to do with that part of the passage. Maybe another part, but not that part. Or they may give your child an answer that's kind of obscure, kind of confusing. Or you might get an answer choice that adds some additional information, some extra stuff, or an answer that's totally contradictory. So these are the 4 tricks that the College Board uses in the line citation question. And so what happens is, when you read the question, you don't look for the right answer, you look for the wrong answers first. They might be contradictory, they might be obscure, they might be confusing. And by marking those off, that will leave you with the one right answer that does not break any of these rules. So let's look at an example. Adam's grandmother neatly packed 2 snacks for him in his lunch sack. He couldn't wait to discover their identity because he knew they were always unique and yummy. Then the question says, why does the author mention Adam's daily routine? A, to show how poor the family was and couldn't afford a lunchbox. Well, that's a little obscure, kind of a confusing relationship there about a lunchbox and the snacks. Relay the grandmother's love for Adam. Now, this is a really tricky answer choice because it would appear that she loves him. I mean, if you think about it, she's up at the crack of dawn every morning, on Pinterest, looking for some kind of unique snack to make. But obviously, this answer adds additional information about the grandmother. And the question is asking about Adam, not the grandmother. Compare how a good lunch helps a student excel. Well, the College Board is notorious for throwing in true statements. It's good to have a good breakfast, helps you do well in school, a good lunch. Those are all true for sure, but they're completely irrelevant to what the question is asking. But to reveal how he of course, loved his grandmother's treats. And so you can see how easy it is to second guess yourself or to overthink the question. So you're going to have your citation questions, you're going to have your vocabulary, you're going to have questions about the whole passage, you're going to have questions about command of evidence, which are previous questions, and then you're going to have questions about charts or graphs. So the key in the reading section is knowing there are 3 types of passages, 5 types of questions, and they're out of order, and there's a fast way to answer every question, and they're all answered differently. All right, now the writing section on the test is where your student will be given 4 passages, 44 questions, and 35 minutes to do it in. So I've done the math for you. It is 47 seconds a question, plus the passages, plus transcribing your answers. Now, certainly logistically, there's no way we could do it the normal way. And they're going to teach you, they're going to give you 3 types of questions. One that will either ask you about grammar, about style, or about reading analysis. So here's an example. Now, most students, there's going to be a passage with some underlined parts, For example, in this case, there'll be an underlined part in the passage that's number 10, that says 10. And so what you would do is you would read the underlined part. If it's grammatically correct, you would pick A, no change, nothing wrong with it. But if there is something wrong with it, then you would have to find the answer. Now, the problem is, of course, time. You've got 47 seconds to read the passages, answer the questions, and read all the answer choices, which you cannot do normally. But again, this is a test of patterns. So notice right here, we read the underlined part, and there is a problem with it. But notice something very interesting. It starts with when, ends with us. Notice the answers. There's a couple whens and a couple us's. And notice the answer that starts with when and ends with us. That is your correct answer. Now, there are 2 words on the writing section that are 100% wrong. So if you see these 2 words, either one of them, you can eliminate that answer, or you can eliminate any answer choices that, or the underlined part that has one of these words. And those are having and being. So you can pretty much go the bank on that if you see that answer. Now, the great thing about the writing portion on the SAT is you don't have to go back to study grammar, elementary school grammar rules. There's 13 recurring problems on the test, and you just study those only. The acronym that I created that shows you all the 13 recurring problems falls under Inside Answers. So the I in Inside Answer stands for ing words such as having and being. A lot of programs will, even the ones that cost thousands of dollars, will teach your child more math, more vocabulary, more grammar. They're basically going to reteach high school over again. That is a red flag. You cannot study for this test, but you have to study the test itself. And by the way, there's over 171,000 words in the dictionary. So studying vocabulary words can just be a waste of time because you don't know which ones will actually be on the test. Now, secret number 9, always write the optional essay. Yes, it's optional. Most students will opt out of it, but there are 4 reasons, and even now 5, to always write the essay. Number 1, it gives your application a complete profile, which is definitely not going to hinder scholarship opportunities. Number 2, there are colleges that will exempt you from writing classes if you've written the essay. Number 3, if the college admissions counselor is on the fence about your application, they'll use the essay as the determining factor. 4, if you take the SAT and you get a great score and you've opted out of the essay, but then you later find that the college you want to go to requires it, you now have to go back and take the whole SAT over again. You can't just write the essay only. And now, even adding a 5th reason, they sometimes will have an experimental section on some facilities, which is a 5th section. If you've opted in for the essay, you don't have to do it. Now, you can always opt in later. I wouldn't risk it, but if you've not signed up for the essay and you get there and you've changed your mind, as long as there's enough materials, they have enough room, then certainly you can still write the essay. It's not hard to write a perfect scoring essay because it's very formulaic. And I've got 30 proven templates that your child can actually just learn the template and write a high-scoring analytical essay and have 75% of the essay written before they ever walk in the door. And ACT, same thing, same reasons to opt in as the SAT. And believe it or not, the judges only spend about 30 seconds grading your student's paper. So in a 15-minute time period, you write this analytical essay. There are 3,600 judges across our nation who will be the ones reading it. And, they're reading thousands of papers, so they have to have a very objective grading system to read a bunch of subjective papers. So they're in that short amount of time, they're just looking for a few key points. But it is beatable. Now, here's kind of an example from one of my templates. You'll notice right there that in red, the brackets, the students can memorize and do copy work and make them these templates that I've created based on perfect scoring essays. And so you would just go in the door, you'd know it already, and you would just replace. So for example, in Kit Uri is the author's name, and the name of the article is Home Again, Home Again. So you would just basically substitute whatever is in the essay that they've given you, the article. In Kit Urey's article, Home Again, he coalesces a very persuasive discourse about adult children moving back home. Urey cogently delivers a compelling argument supported by well-founded data, all of which result in the reader re-examining the implications of commonly held beliefs on this subject. He states that monetary gain and fiscal situations has forced a return to the nest, and uses key details by addressing the counter-arguments and cloaking it all in a persuasive and compelling language from a keynote speech, a recent survey, and the Census Bureau. So all that was in red was taken directly from the article, but everything else your child can already know, walk in the door, and no matter what the topic is, have pretty much 75% written, and just sit down and just start writing and be done and get a great score. And number 10, colleges are looking for your homeschoolers. This is true. This is exciting. They find that homeschoolers tend to be more mature. They have good study skills. They graduate at a higher rate, 78% of homeschoolers versus 36% of the general population will actually graduate, which means they don't waste scholarship money. And they're looking for these well-rounded classrooms that have students from all across the nation from different backgrounds. So they are looking for your child. They find that it's not the 13th year to them, and they don't have to babysit them. So colleges want your homeschool child. And then, of course, here's my bonus secret, and that is the new CLT. The CLT is the classic learning test, brand new alternative. It's in about 140 colleges right now. If your child is going to be going to one of those colleges, for example, Patrick Henry, Liberty, Hillsdale, Bryan, there's a whole list of them on their website. You definitely want to check into it, or you want to take the test anyways, because I feel like it's going to be in all colleges one day, but it's also used for college entrance as well as scholarship money. The CLT 10 is free, and it's on the level of a National Merit Scholarship Contest. They partner with the NAS, National Association of Scholars. So if you've got a sophomore, take the test. It could mean a free ride, as a sophomore by doing the CLT 10, and then still take the PSAT in the junior years. That gives you two opportunities. But I'm very honored and humbled the fact that the CLT has partnered with College Prep Genius. We are the only test prep company that they recommend. So if you go to their website, cltexam.com, take a free practice test, use that code CPG18 under partner ID. That will enter your child into a drawing. If they take the actual CLT, use the code CPG18, that will cut their registration in half. So it's close to $50 to take the test, and that will drop it in half. So you definitely go check them out. The test is more for based around Western traditions. You've got authors like C.S. Lewis and Charles Dickens. So I think you'll be pleased with it. So check them out. So why do you get the big bucks? What is the deal that scholarship money leads to, is based on a test score? Well, that is because colleges get their national rankings based on test scores. So the higher the score, the more money you get, because you make the colleges look good. 85% of colleges will admit and give money on test scores alone. So they'll roll out that red carpet and give you all those perks, full ride and tuition and room and board and all the things that we talked about. This is what I said. Some people will get this and they will jump on it, and it will change their life. And there will be people, because this lady was telling me on the phone this morning, she said, I put all this information out there and it's like nobody's biting. I've told them about the kind of money. Her older child did our program and got full ride, and so her younger one is now needing it, and she was telling people about it, and she goes, I don't understand why people don't get it. Well, I don't either, but I do know that it's a game, and you play the game, but it can be the golden ticket to free college for your child. So bottom line is, the SAT is going to ultimately determine where you get to go to college and who's going to pay. Sometimes just getting that college degree can absolutely change your life. I mean, the statistic I saw recently was that just having that bachelor degree, your income can be 182% more per week based on someone with a non-college degree. So, I'm all about college. It's not for everyone, but if, we want our kids to go, be the ones who are in leadership someday and in those positions. And so this is definitely a venue to get there. You'll notice that opportunity as your child gets older, the opportunities get a little steeper. And of course, their work increases, and a lot of times the opportunities tend to decrease. So if you do have an older student, again, take heart. I've seen it time and time again, students doing amazing, even in late junior into the senior year, or even students who've already graduated from college can still take the SAT because there's no age limit and they can still get scholarship money. So keep that in mind. So we don't want our kids to have this mountain of debt. We want them to have a clean slate and be able to have amazing opportunities. So what does College Prep Genius do and what it's done? It helps your student to cut their time in half, helps them to know why the right answers are right, why the wrong ones are wrong, because the College Board uses the same wrong patterns on every test. We've seen kids raise their score 600 points or more and even gone to Ivy Leagues for free. The beauty of using the program in your homeschool is that you can make it an elective. There's a complete homework guide that will take you through every day. It's very mom-friendly, and you can give your child credit for it as test prep or test skills, life skills. So your kids can ace this test, whether you're taking the SAT, the ACT, the PSAT, the CLT. Strategies work on so many different tests, but it is beatable, and it's just a matter of learning the patterns. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. And these are just some of the tests that people have used over the years. People have used our program on to raise their scores. It's amazing that general test taking strategies work. This is why, as a homeschooling mom, I'm a believer in adding test prep as just another class next to your math and your science and your history. It's a different skill set, and it can benefit them later on, not just get into college, but even beyond, even at their job someday. We've won a lot of awards, which I'm really honored. Kathy Duffy has a great review on her website, so you can go read the full review. She's a very honest person, and she shoots it to you straight. And this is a non-homeschooling website, but we got voted in the top 10 best programs by thebestschools.org, and this is a program that gets a website that gets about 1 million hits a month. Kathy Duffy, Heidi St. John uses our program. The Old Schoolhouse Magazine reviewed our program. Mike Smith of HSLDA tells everybody about our program. If you want to see and view videos, go to collegeprepgenius.com/testimonials. You'll hear from students, parents, teachers, counselors, just life-changing stories of just being able to get a high score and go to their dream college or get amazing scholarship money. So now to get the notes, I know I talked a lot and you probably feel like you have a brain overload, but I want you to have these notes. So to get the notes for this webinar, go to collegeprepgenius.com/HSBC for Homeschool Buyers Co-op, top 10, and that'll get you the notes. And I'm really excited, of course, to partner with the Homeschool Buyers Co-op. I mean, they just do a fabulous job. And I know they're running a special right now, which will end on February 9th. And then, of course, you have 30 days to redeem the coupon. But our program is normally $189, but you'll get it for $149 through them. Plus, you will get 1,500 smart points. So you'll get our How to Ace the SAT program, as well as all these other e-readers, Vocab Cafe book series, High School Prep Genius, 15 Secrets to Free College. The online program that you'll get is a 1 month. It's interactive. It's a homework guide. You, mom, don't have to do anything. It's all done for you. Has the essay templates, Journal for Success. You'll get our fun, wholesome Vocab Cafe reader series, which will teach your kids 300 SAT level words. And the bottom of the page will be the definition and pronunciation. You can use those as a literature class as well as a creative writing class. And then 15 Secrets to Free College, which will show you lots of ways to go to college for free. That's included. And then our High School Prep Genius book, which is like a personal guidance counselor for you, mom. It's going to take you through what to do every month of every year, so you don't have to guess or know or ask people, because we've done it for you. You also get information about transcripts. If you have a child going to med school, it'll show you how a high SAT score can help them skip the MCAT and even finish in 6 years, undergrad and med school. So I'm excited. The Homeschool Buyers Co-op, that link right there, if you go to homeschoolbuyerscoop.org/college-prep-genius, that's how you get the special for plus the 1,500 smart points. And so I'll put that link right here again. So right there, limited time. It does end on February 9th. And then, of course, to get the notes that I spoke about today, you can go to that link right there. So I'm very excited. So hopefully you don't have too much of a brain overload, but the notes will help you. Thank you for listening. And now we're going to open it up for some questions.
Thank you so much, Jean. So our first question is, my son is in 6th grade. Is it too early to order this?
We teach a lot of 6th graders, 7th graders. I think you have to know your own child. I don't think every single 6th grader would be ready. They're just not. But there are plenty that are. And I think that if they are, what you're doing is you are introducing these strategies and shortcuts at an early age where they have lots of time to work on them. One of the things a lot of our families do that have young students, even our homework guide is designed for 12 weeks. But what they'll do with the younger students is they'll take one lesson and maybe spend 2 or 3 weeks on it before they move on to another one. So the beauty is you've got time on your side. And, like I said earlier, you can't get time back. So if your child is ready, by all means, there's nothing wrong with starting now. Some of it may be over their head, but you have a whole year subscription for the program, and if you want to renew it, it's only $49. Definitely, we see it happen all the time.
So how much time should students in 6th grade be spending on prepping for college entrance exams per week?
If you have a 6th grader, 7th grader, you don't have to spend that much time at all. Maybe even an hour a week. I mean, a lot has to do with your schedule, but you're just going over some basics, and you go back over them more than one time, but you're kind of just getting excited about your future because you have lots of time to internalize, the information. Most of us, retain a small percentage of what we hear the first time. So to really solidify and be able to apply the information appropriately, we have to hear it again and again.
If my child does not plan to go to college, what tests will this help with?
Well, and interesting, and keep in mind too that kids change their mind or plans change. What I always tell students is that these are just general test taking strategies that can help on so many areas. I mean, we've had people use our program on the military test, the civil service test, the FBI, the CPA test, the NCLEX. Once you understand that most standardized test companies follow very similar rules and very similar patterns. And so just knowing how to take a test, a standardized test, is going to help in a lot of areas. But I will tell you, have your student take an SAT anyways while they're in high school, even if they're not planning on going to college. And here's why. Your student might get out of high school after a couple years and realize, maybe I want to go to college. Well, they probably will have forgotten some basic algebra and basic geometry. But if you take the SAT while you're still in high school, the College Board holds your score indefinitely. And so, and most colleges will take old SAT scores. So even if you're out of college and then all of a sudden you think, well, I think I want to go to college, your score is waiting for you.
And another question is, did I understand correctly that it will not affect a child's college application to take the test many times?
Absolutely not. That is a myth, that is information that people will tell you that's incorrect. First of all, you don't have to send the scores in. The College Board has what's called score choice. And what that does, that allows you to pick the score to send in whenever you want. But even then, the colleges tend to take the highest scores from different sections, because what you've got to remember is that colleges get their rankings because of test scores. So when you have a high score, it ups their rankings and makes them look better. That's why they're willing to give you lots of scholarship information, scholarship offers and benefits.
And a couple of people are curious, is course fee only for one student, or can multiple students use the College Prep Genius at the same time?
So our program, we are not out to stick it to families by any means. Your children, all your children can use the program. It's unlimited use. It's the only thing you'll have to do is keep a track of your child. Like the first, it tracks the first child's progress. That means the second child, if let's say first child on lesson 7, the second one's on lesson 3, then they personally would have to keep a track of where they're at. But that's not hard. But we don't mind. Now, some people do buy a second one for their child. There's a discount for that. But it's not necessary. We do not mind that all your kids use the program.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jean. We are out of time for today. On behalf of all of our member families, I want to say thank you so much for sharing your time and wisdom with us. I know this can be quite a daunting subject for a lot of parents. And I just want to remind everybody listening that for this week only, you can get 21% off College Prep Genius by visiting homeschoolbuyerscoop.org/collegeprepgenius. And we'll send this webinar recording and links to the notes, as well as a direct link to the site in an email to everyone tomorrow. So thank you very much again, and I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day.
Okay, thank you. Kaylin, are you there?